All right, hey, good evening to you. Back in our older, more familiar time slot, Gabe DeArmond here on the Tiger Tuesday recruiting show, brought to you by Brandon Barnes and USA Mortgage. We're going to welcome Sean Williams here in just a minute. We're going to talk a little bit of Mizzou recruiting with you guys for the next, 20, 30 minutes, however long it is, or until my dog busts through my office door and says it's time to go for a walk. So whichever one comes first. Brandon Barnes, USA Mortgage. There you see his information to my left on your screen. Brandon is a former Mizzou football player turned mortgage banker now. He is the guy you want to deal with in Columbia if you're looking for a new house, if you're looking for a refi, whatever other things you do with your mortgages. I'm sure there are some, but he'll get you low rates, great products, the best service in town. If you follow Brandon on Instagram, there's a lot of people that will share their testimonials, and he does good work. Great guy. I've known him for quite a few years. You can apply now at showmemortgages.com. You can email him at bbarnes@usa-mortgage.com, and there's 2 phone numbers there. So there's a lot of ways that you can get in touch with Brandon Barnes. So if you're looking to do anything with a mortgage, you should probably do that. And as promised, now we bring in Sean Williams, who is now off center on my screen. That's my fault. Now, look at that, man. We fixed it in like half a second, and yeah, you're good, man. Quit moving.
All right, man.
Otherwise, it messes everything up for me. All my hard work goes out the damn window as soon as you start having fun. So, all right, we're going to talk recruiting. Sean, we live in a world where now Missouri just takes recruits from Nebraska, the top kids in the state. The kids off their commitment list. This is just now a thing that happens in college football because Nebraska's not so much Nebraska anymore.
I mean, who doesn't take recruits from Nebraska
right.
now? So,
right. Kansas doesn't.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting because, Valen Erickson is somebody we kind of forgot about because
yeah.
He committed to Nebraska. He took an official visit there in June, and then he visited Missouri later in June and got an offer. And, and then that July period hit at the end, and he had visits set up to Nebraska, and then he was going to come visit Missouri that weekend. And he didn't make it to Missouri because he committed to Nebraska when he was on that visit. So, and then he kind of shut things down. So, he canceled the Missouri visit. Committed to Nebraska. He's been there twice over the summer. You kind of think he's solidly committed, and here we are. 5 weeks later, he comes back on Missouri's campus for the season opener, and Missouri was able to flip him. So it kind of shows you that even though maybe we forgot about him a little bit, Missouri didn't, and they really wanted him, and they really like him, and they like him in offensive tackle, and yeah, he's in the class now. So. We'll see if he stays. I think he'll stay longer than 5 weeks. So.
You would think so, yeah. And do want to remind you guys, hey, over in the comments section, drop any comments, questions you have. We certainly will get to those as we go. Breakfast King of Loyola was the first one to join us. I believe he was the one who was upset last week when we did a show at like 9:30 in the morning. Breakfast King prefers later hours, so he is with us here in prime time. And if you've got questions, feel free to drop them over there or comments, whatever will make you an internet star, and put your YouTube name and your comment on the show. Make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button while you're hanging out here. And so, Sean, the commitment, and we have to be fully transparent. There's 3 potential ways to pronounce Mr. Erickson's first name. We have pronounced them all of those ways, I think. I believe it's Valen Erickson, but I'm not 100% sure about that. So anyway, that happened shortly before Mitchell and I started yesterday on the show, and my theory of it was he might not really have been a take for Missouri 6 weeks ago. Like, there was something kind of holding up that process, it seemed like to me. So he took a spot where he knew he had it, and then when things cleared up a little bit more with Missouri, he took a spot where it kind of seems like he always wanted it. Because to me, you don't commit somewhere and then 6 weeks, decommit and commit somewhere else if that wasn't really kind of where you wanted to go all along.
Yeah, that's a very good theory, and one I would probably agree with. I mean, you can throw all kinds of theories out there. I'm going to go back to the Breakfast King guy, though. I mean, when your name's Breakfast King, why are you complaining that we're having podcast at 9:30 in the morning. You should be up eating breakfast and crushing it, right?
I brought up that point last week. He did not agree with me.
Yeah, so yeah, that's a good theory, and yeah, you're probably right on that. Maybe there was some dominoes, some chips that Missouri wanted to see where they fell before they wanted to really take him. It could be a fact that here's another theory I'll throw out there, and one I kind of thought about. But I might be leaning toward more your theory. But maybe he was at that Nebraska, went back to Nebraska. They were kind of maybe pressing him a little bit to commit. Maybe he really did like it there, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and commit. I like it here, and then you kind of get caught up in the limelight when you're going to visit, right? And especially if coaches are saying, hey, you need to commit here, and you need to get a spot here right now. So maybe that happened too, and maybe he's a couple weeks later he's like, I really like Missouri. I really want to maybe check them out again, and and it might be a combination of both theories that we have here. So it's recruiting. You just never know.
I think it's that direct flight from Chicago to Columbia. I think that's what probably won him over. I mean, honestly, his parents are probably big fans of it because I don't think there's a direct Chicago to Lincoln.
Yeah, I mean that could be a big factor too. Easy flight, so your parents can come watch you play. So
for sure. So we think they're done at offensive line, right? In this class.
Here's the thing, and this is kind of a fresh story. Now I don't know when E.J. Holland talked to Deion Walker, but Deion Walker's out there.
Right.
Obviously, he's a guy that's a two-way player. He plays D-line, he plays O-line. A lot of people like him on the D-line. Missouri likes him on the offensive line. I don't think that's changed. But obviously, that's a kid that came up. I mean, he's a highly rated kid. He's a 4-star kid. He came up during the summer. He recently told E.J. Holland at the Michigan site that Missouri was one of the schools he was going to take an official to this fall. Okay. So I don't know if that's going to fall through yet or not. And it could be a situation like, hey, Missouri might be like, yeah, we like you at O-line, but maybe now we'll take you at D-line too, right. Just because he's that good of a player. So that's one to watch, whether he's going to be an offensive line, if he's still going to be an offensive line target for Missouri going forward, or if Missouri will maybe say, hey, maybe we like you at D-tackle now, so. But Deion Walker's the guy that, said just recently in a story with our Michigan site that Missouri's a school that he wants to take a visit to. So that's one to kind of keep an eye on.
And his teammate, he's a kid named Jackson Pruitt, who's an offensive lineman. He has Missouri in his final 6, but kind of at this point, I don't know that there's room at Missouri.
Right. And, they like Erickson at tackle. You've got Woods, who they kind of like is just kind of an all-around guy. They like him at tackle guard. Somebody that can play center, too. And I know, whenever Woods committed, he said he snapped for Missouri at center working out for him a little bit. So, we kind of see where that goes there. Armand Mimbo, they like him at guard, and Tristan Wilson's kind of a guy they could be either tackle or guard. So I know Pruitt's kind of more, they like him as an inside guy, whether that's center. I know center is something that he said he could play right away if he played that position. Obviously, he could play guard too. So, yeah, but you kind of think the bigger the offensive line class gets, that maybe, a guy like Pruitt maybe gets squeezed out, and maybe you make room for a guy like Deion Walker, who is a ginormous guy, so.
Because, they've got 4 in this class. They have Connor Tollison from the last class who's already on the 2 deep, who they really like. So there's a world in which that's your starting 5 offensive line going forward. But you can't forget the 2023 class that has Miles McVay, Logan Reichert, and Caden Green, among others, but I think those are kind of the top 3, guys. And I think it's fair to say Missouri's in excellent condition with at least 2 of the 3, and I think in the top group for all 3. So, you've got to be you're not going to go take 6 offensive linemen here and potentially scare off Logan Reichert and Caden Green and Miles McVay, I wouldn't think.
Right. I agree with that. I think if, I agree with you, too. I think they're more than likely done, with the exception of maybe Deion Walker, and maybe that's a situation where they say, hey, you can play either offensive line or defensive line for us. I mean, right. So, but yeah, you don't want to discourage what you've got going on, and we talked about this in our last couple of podcasts, but what you got going on in the 2023 class, especially with the offensive linemen, that's in and around the St. Louis, Missouri area. A ton of talent, and they're in pretty good with all three of those guys, really.
Yep. Gorov brings up a name I haven't heard of in a while, Devon Jackson, linebacker from Nebraska. I think we kind of thought a while ago, like Miami or somewhere, kind of Missouri was done there. Any reason to think that's not the case?
I don't. Everything I've read, and I've tried to reach out to the kid too. I know he's really good friends with Deshaun Woods, so that's why a lot of people are kind of interested.
Right.
And also, Missouri is kind of looking for a linebacker too. But everything I've reached out to the kid. He hasn't got back to me. Everything I've seen that's been written about him, he doesn't mention Missouri. It's usually Miami, Arizona State, teams like that. So it doesn't look like Missouri is really in the mix for him at this moment. But yeah, I mean, that's why people are kind of intrigued, because Missouri's, they kind of want to add a linebacker. They're keeping an eye on a few guys. And obviously he's a good one, and he's best friends with Deshaun Woods too. So, but it doesn't look like there's anything there at the moment, but hey, who knows?
The Magic Man wants to know if Mizzou ever tried hard to recruit Jamison Williams from Ohio State last year. They did. I mean, they definitely would have taken him. And a lot of people thought they were going to get him. I didn't see. I watched 0 seconds of Alabama this weekend, so I don't really know how he did in that game. I don't know if you watched any of it.
He had like a 94-yard touchdown catch or something like that, I think.
Is that? I mean, it could have been longer. It could have been like 97.
Maybe.
Yeah.
You looking up the stats?
No, I'm just saying, like 94. I mean, that's pretty good, but like it's not 97.
Well, yeah.
but it's
still,
pretty good. Yeah. He's he's a heck of a player. Obviously, Missouri definitely was interested, and I think had a shot there for a while, and then kind of the way recruiting goes, everybody has a shot until Nick Saban decides he wants a kid, and then kind of nobody really has a shot.
Yeah.
So
that's what happens.
It's good to be king. Bradley wants to know how many spots left and where. So first off, we got to be a little bit careful with this question, because there's still a possibility out there that they're going to get like 5 more commitments in this class. But as I understand it, that doesn't make a huge difference for Missouri, because the number that they're watching isn't just 25, it's the 85 total. I don't know. They're at like 77 or 78 right now. They don't know how many guys are coming back. So the how many spots question, basically for the next 3.5 years, is almost impossible to answer.
Yeah, I think it's kind of one of those. You can't really pinpoint an exact number on it. You can just kind of play, you just kind of throw out roundabouts. You know?
20 to 25 we expect in this class, right?
We can say that they'll definitely reserve a spot for Luther Burden, for sure.
Yes, there is room for him in this class. They might reserve honestly, 2 spots for him.
Yeah. But, I mean, it seems like Luther Burden for sure. They're monitoring a linebacker. They may take another defensive lineman. Definitely a defensive back, whether that's a safety or a cornerback, seems like that's going to be an option for them as well. They've offered quite a few guys, and there are quite a few guys that are committed elsewhere. So Missouri might not be done flipping kids right now. So
right.
I think those are kind of the positions to kind of watch moving forward, at least in this year's class.
Yeah, and you never know. There could be like a late specialist in there or something. I haven't really scoured the punter ranks, but you never know.
Yeah, I think we might have mentioned this in the last podcast, but yeah, that stretch of July live period, I think Missouri had a lot of kickers and punters come in for workouts and things like that. So whether that ends up being a actual scholarship, or usually those are preferred walk-ons and you get a scholarship in a year or two type of situation. So
yeah. Our friend Sir Mufflebuns is back this year. That's another excellent username that we got used to last year, Sean. He says when some schools would see a kid committing somewhere as a red light, the staff seems to see it as a green light. Like, they are, I think, fairly aggressive in recruiting kids that are committed to other schools, but also the kid has to listen, right? I mean, you don't, if a kid says, don't call me anymore, you kind of leave it alone. You only put your time in recruiting kids that are committed somewhere else if they give you a reason to believe it's worth your time.
Yeah, especially at this point. I mean, I think if you don't want to waste your time on a kid that's not going to listen, So I believe they're not going to be off. We've seen Missouri dish out some offers to some kids committed to SMU. Pitt,
Right.
Utah. So I think those kids are definitely listening. And look, considering the year that you just kind of went through, and now you can actually visit other schools. Kids are gonna, commit to places, reserve their spot, but then they're gonna, if other schools want to reach out and they're interested, and they have that right to go check them out in the fall and make sure they're making the right decisions. So I think this year, as opposed to the rest of the years, I think kids are even more open-minded to checking out other schools, even though they're committed elsewhere, because they didn't get a chance to go anywhere last year. So I think you're seeing Missouri kind of taking that approach, and kids are going to take that approach as well. So, yeah, I think all the offers you see Missouri throwing out there. I mean, just talking to the guys, I've been able to get a hold of a couple of guys that are committed, like Jeffrey Ugo, the cornerback that's committed to Utah. He's very interested in Missouri, said he wants to come visit. So, those kids are open-minded. And, when an SEC school comes around and says, hey, we want to offer you a scholarship, you're interested in checking us out? Yeah, sure. Of course I want to play in the best conference in America. So,
Well, then you do have kids out there and I'm just pulling one out, like a Tyson Ford who committed to Notre Dame very early, and we never hear anything about. It's not like Missouri just says, "Oh, he committed somewhere else. Now it's time we go recruit him." I mean, you can only
right.
recruit a kid that wants to be recruited. So, but who never goes back on his commitment, Sean?
Who's that?
Brandon Barnes. He commits to take care of you, to do his best for you in looking for your best deal with a mortgage. The former Mizzou safety and linebacker, now at USA Mortgage here in Columbia over on East Broadway. That is, as the name might indicate, it is east of downtown on Broadway. He's got great products. He's got excellent customer service, low rates. He's on our message boards sometimes. Like, if you can't get a hold of him on his office phone and his cell phone and his email address and his website that are listed there, just go on our website and tag him and say, "Hey, Brandon, I want to refinance my mortgage. What can you do for me?" And he will get back in touch with you. He will take care of you. You can apply online actually at showmemortgage.com with Brandon Barnes. So thanks to him for being a part of this show all year long. Okay, so here's a question from Magic Man, and this is pretty timely. He wants to know about Mekhi Miller and Jamarion Wayne, the reason that's timely is, look, I understand why everyone is a little bit they've got Luther Burden fever right now, right? Everything is only about Luther Burden. He's the only kid Missouri's recruiting. He may be the only kid Missouri signs. It's going to be a recruiting class of one. It ranks 8th in the country, all that. But look, we have been told multiple times in the last few weeks that Missouri would love to add Luther Burden, but that it will be perfectly happy with the wide receiver class if it's Mekhi Miller and Jamarion Wayne, because they think they've got a couple kids that are undervalued by some of the recruiting services, like the one Sean Williams works for.
And you forgot you.
No, I don't have anything to do with that. You're the guy that sets the rankings and takes the stars away from all the Missouri guys.
Yeah, exactly. That's me. Totally me. Blame me, man. Yeah, it's funny. You mentioned the Luther Burden hype and everybody. There was a lot of chatter on that today. Whether if he commits to Missouri, yeah, it's going to bump him up a lot of spots in the team rankings. But hey, it hasn't happened yet. And it's like you said, Jamarion Wayne and Mekhi Miller. We don't talk about them enough.
Because they committed early, and people forget about when you commit early. People forget about you,
right?
Including us. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're guilty of that too. But Drinkwitz went to Mekhi Miller's game, this past weekend. So I think he hauled in 2 touchdown catches. He had a big first game. So, and they got a really good quarterback at this high school. So he's got a chance to put up some good numbers. I'm not sure what his exact yardage was, but he put up 2 touchdowns. I mean, so far, Jamarion Wayne just going through the fall in the future and doing that every week and checking on his stats. I mean, he does everything for that team. He catches passes. He's throwing passes. He's rushing the ball. He's making 3 or 4 tackles a game. I mean, I watched him last year against Lutheran North. Whenever I went up there to really profile Travion Ford, and he really stuck out. I mean, he's just tall, he's long, he can do everything. He's got a high motor. So yeah, I mean, I don't think we talk enough about these two wide receivers that they have committed right now, and we should talk about them more. And maybe maybe I'll reach out to them and do some stories on them. Right?
Hey, that's good. It's almost like we could talk to them if we wanted to, right? And
Yeah.
hey, they're two guys that actually return messages and are generally willing to do it. So we like those kids. Dan wants to know if the Tigers would try to flip Cameron Epps from Chaminade in St. Louis. It's not a name I've really heard much. I don't know if you have. I mean, I know the name. I've heard of him, but
Right. Yeah. And I think just Missouri got in really late with him. During the summer, whenever he's trying to take spring, summer.
Oklahoma State, is that right?
Yeah. He committed to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State got in on him a little bit early, and he really likes it there. I don't know maybe they'll flip him. I just kind of got the idea that maybe, whenever before he committed to Oklahoma State, reaching out to him, talking about Missouri, kind of had a little bit of a bad taste in his mouth that Missouri got in on him a little bit late in the process. So that's why he went with Oklahoma State. So I think there's a big hurdle there if you want to try to flip a guy like Epps. Not saying it can happen, but saying that, there's a little bit of a bad taste there, I think, on the kid's part. And that's just nothing bad to say about the kid. He just has a chip on his shoulder, and thinking that Missouri was a little bit late to the process. But I've talked to him early on, and whenever he was kind of coming up the ranks and getting some Power 5 offers here and there, he seems like a really good kid. But, he seems pretty solid at Oklahoma State, but anything can happen, obviously.
Yeah. Bradley wants to know if any current commits could be possible decommits. I mean, not that we've heard of. I haven't really gotten any indication that other than, I guess you got to still kind of pay attention to Marquise Gracial and see when he goes back down to Tuscaloosa. But other than that, there's nobody that strikes me as that being a real possibility.
Yeah, we've kind of struck down the Isaac Thompson, UCF talk. Obviously he took an official there, but I don't think that's going to be anything to worry about.
Yeah, he bought out a whole section of student tickets, I think, for the season and just moved in like he's building a bedroom there, so I think he's safe.
I think Makai Miller was somebody that was going to check out Indiana during the summer. I don't even know if that visit happened or not. Yeah. I think the one to keep an eye on that we know of that's going to take other visits is Marquise Gracial. Obviously, we talked about Nick Saban being the king earlier. That might be a situation with him where, if Alabama really wants him, will he flip? And that's a very good possibility. But you never know till it happens. I know he, when we caught up with him at the Jamboree recently, he mentioned he's going back to Alabama for an official. He's wanting to go up to Oregon for an official, and I don't think he'll end up at Oregon. He wants to stay somewhere where his family can watch him play. Obviously, the best place to do that and the easiest place to do that is Missouri. Alabama's a little bit more of a drive, but, will the Nick Saban effect happen with him? We don't know that. He made it sound like in the interview that he's already made the right decision. But we'll see how much Alabama presses, and will that change his mind?
All right, fully committed. Recruitment's still open. So that's
the way I'm fully committed to Power Mizzou, but recruitment's still open.
There you go. Sean Williams taking offers. If any of you guys have them out there. Jake wants to know any words, negative or positive, from the visitors this past weekend. I would say positive that Valen Erickson committed. That seems to be a positive review.
Yeah, I haven't been able to. I caught up with Joe Otting, the 2023 lineman, and he really liked his visit. That's another guy that Missouri's kind of in on very early. The kid from Iowa that's kind of blowing up a little bit. So I need to reach out. I haven't had a chance to reach out to more kids, but I am going to this week. But yeah, obviously you start off with a win. Sure, you didn't blow the doors off of Central Michigan, but hey, you know what? Central Michigan's actually a pretty good team. So.
And I've also legitimately never heard a kid say, well, the visit was awesome, but they only won by 10 points, so I don't think I'm going to go there. It's just
it depends. It depends on if you went to Vanderbilt this weekend or not.
Well, okay. Fair. I forgot you're talking to those kids, so that's possible. Magic Man, I'd love to add Kevin Coleman, but he seems to be leaning toward Florida State. Look, I shot this one down on our message board yesterday. I'm just going to tell you guys, Kevin Coleman, Missouri's not happening. It's just it's not a thing. We can move on from that. Let's see. Any update on Jaden Doss? Story said he was not interested in local schools and likes Oklahoma State. Look, he was at Missouri this weekend. He's been at Missouri like 5 times. He's been to Missouri a lot for a place he's apparently not interested in. I think he's pretty interested. Right?
It depends on where they read that story. Was it the Oklahoma State side?
Right. Yeah, I don't know. But and guess what? Sometimes kids say things, right? Sometimes, right. And sometimes also things are kind of misinterpreted. Like maybe it was, hey, do you want to stay close to home? And he said, no, it's not important to me to stay local. I'd like to look somewhere else. And that is interpreted as he doesn't want to go. I didn't read the story. I don't know. I'm just saying Jaden Doss has been to campus a lot. He's wasting a lot of time if he's got no interest.
Yeah, we didn't read the story, but we just know how these things work. So, right. But yeah, I mean, the evidence is kind of there. The amount of visits he's taken, and the amount of interest Missouri's showing in him. So,
and Ray Peck is a place that's been very good to Missouri. Going back to Chase Kaufman, Derek Washington, like when Ray Peck has a D1 player, Missouri's got a pretty good shot to get him. So, right. I would think that's one. Magic Man. Are we still looking at Dominique Orange? I mean, yes, our indications are that Missouri's looking at him. He just legitimately never speaks to anyone about recruiting that I can tell.
Yeah, you gotta have a DEFCON 4 code to kind of talk to him. But yeah, he kind of keeps things close to the vest. But it's like we mentioned in previous podcasts here, that workout in July really kind of elevated his status with Missouri, and is he a take right now? I think they would probably take him, but I think, they obviously want to check out some senior film of him too. But I think they were pretty impressed with him at the July workout when he came by and worked out there. I think he's kind of high on their board right now. So,
and he just strikes me as a kid whose name got out there early, and a whole bunch of these offers got out there. But like in the end, it's kind of looking like Missouri, Iowa State, Kansas State, kind of more of a regional recruit. Just because, and look, who knows? Again, maybe he's taken 17 visits and none of us know about any of them, right? I mean, I think it's kind of hard to miss like a 370-pound dude on your campus, but I don't know. I guess it's possible.
I mean, a 370-pound 4-star dude, I think a lot of people would want to talk about that or at least mention it, even though you can't get him on the phone. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, you mentioned the regional schools, and it may be a situation where he just wants to stay close to home. Mm-hmm. So, hey, advantage Missouri there, right?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. All right, we're gonna finish up with this one from Ken. Over under on 10 4-stars in this class. So right now we're looking at Deshaun Woods, Tavoris Jones, Marcus Scott, Marquise Gracial, Sam Horn, and Isaac Thompson. That's 6 as of today, with Jamarion Wayne, Mekhi Miller, Armand Mimbo, and Valen Erickson all sitting as 5.7 3-stars. So, I mean, I guess they could get to 10 if those guys all got an upgrade and Missouri's 4-stars all stayed 4-stars. That seems unlikely because we all know that there's a rivals conspiracy to immediately downgrade kids that commit to Missouri.
Yeah, I was gonna mention now. Considering the rivals conspiracy, I'm gonna go with the under. Right?
Were we not supposed to say that on this show, or was that supposed to be like a company secret?
I don't know. I'm just mentioning it because it's funny, and I like to laugh. So
right, there you go. But I mean, if we think they get Burden which I think we think they do, probably.
Question about that. Burden's a 5-star. Does that count as a 4-star? That counts. Or does that leap over?
I think he means 4 and above. So that's 7 if the rankings stay as they are right now. Dominique Orange, I don't know, DJ Westlake, those guys are out there. I could see those guys as maybe not ending up as 4-stars necessarily. So
right.
10 feels a little bit high to me.
I agree. I'm going to go with under. I think 10's a little high.
I think 8 is more realistic, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you get a guy like Dominique Orange and he stays a 4-star, say Land Luther Burden, I think that's a pretty good haul right there.
Yeah, and say Mekhi Miller gets upgraded, then you'd be at 9. But, yeah, I think 8 is a more likely number unless something crazy just happens at the end of the year. But I'm pretty confident, and I don't want to go shuffling through, 18 years of commit list, but I'm pretty confident 8 would be the most Missouri has signed ever.
I think that, yeah. I mean, I would agree with you. I'm not going to go through the commit list either for the past few years, but I think that would be a class that they would be extremely happy with, and
Yes.
probably would be historic as well.
Yeah, and would build some momentum for a 2023 class that's got a lot of kids and all that. So, I don't know, Sean. Anything else, man? You just want to anything you just want to talk about? It doesn't have to be recruiting related. If you just want to just let us know what's going on.
No, I mean, I'm glad your dog didn't come in like
Yeah.
5 minutes into this podcast and just ruin everybody's night, because I know they stayed up for this.
Yes, yes. He is anxiously awaiting his walk, which got delayed because the show that was going to happen at 10 o'clock this morning didn't happen until 7:30 tonight. So, but appreciate you guys joining us. Appreciate Sean being here as always. Be back next Tuesday. Mitchell Forty and I, after the SEC coaches teleconference with Mark Stoops, who I nearly called Bob, and Eli Drinkwitz, we will have the. We'll have the 573 report for you tomorrow afternoon, sometime around I don't know, 12:30, something like that. So appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate one more time Brandon Barnes for taking care of us, taking care of you guys who have housing needs. Hit him up there at any of the contactable manners that are on your screen. 2 phone numbers, an email address, a website, drive by the physical location over on East Broadway, whatever you want to do. But if you're doing something with your house, make sure to at least give Brandon a call. Give Brandon Barnes the first shot at your business. We appreciate it. He appreciates it. And thanks for watching, guys. We will talk to you another time.